And one of the kids carrying the candle is Skylar, and she was 1.4 pounds when she was born. And now she's 12 years old, and just as ornery as anybody else. So kids, slowly you can bring the peace candles in. And Mike's going to share a little music with us. Mike? Oh, let's go this way. Said it way too often, but I realize more and more that life is a journey. And on Sunday morning or Thursday night, and like tonight, our journeys somehow come together. And each one of our journeys is unique. And things happen in our journey that nobody else knows. And somehow when we come in here on a Christmas Eve evening, we bring our journey with us. I mentioned a couple weeks ago, and also in the newsletter, that when I came here in 1974, one of the first events that happened in the church that night, there was this, at that time, what I thought was an elderly lady came up to me. And she said, Pastor Borling, I want you to give us a chance. Because I was pastor number 6 in 14 years. And I said, no. You don't need to give me a chance. But you've given me a chance. And I need that chance over and over. Please, you give me a chance. And over the past 43 and 44 years, you've given me so many chances. And tonight, as we gather here, think of all the people that have given you a chance. A chance to succeed, a chance to fail, a chance to follow your dreams, a chance to be yourself. All those people have made your journey possible. And today we think of all those people. Because today we think about that journey that led to Jesus being born in Bethlehem. In the prophet Isaiah, the prophet says this: "The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. They lived in a land of shadows, but now that light is shining on them, and you have given them great joy. For you have broken that yoke that burdened them, the rod that beat their shoulders. You have defeated the nation that oppressed and exploited your people. You have defeated the army of Midian long ago, and the boots of the invading army. They will be destroyed because of your power and because of your love for us. You see, unto us a child is born, and unto us a son is given. And we will call him Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, and Prince of Peace. And his royal power will continue to grow. His kingdom will always be at peace, and he will rule as King David's successor. Yes, the Lord Almighty is determined to do this for all of us, for indeed he is born again. Our opening hymn this evening is Hark the Herald Angels Sing. It's number 207. In a way, tonight we're talking a little bit about fulfilling dreams. I don't know how many of you were here back in 1961 and 62. There was a lady in the church at that time. Her name was Ruby, and she was a dreamer. And at the dedication of the church 53 or 54 years ago, she had this I Have a Dream speech. And she talked about how one day, this is back when the church was all the grass was overgrown and the place was small and there were very few people and not a lot of money. And she said, I have a dream. I have a dream that one day we'll have a gymnasium. And people laughed. I dream that one day we're going to have an outdoor garden, a memory garden. There'll be a cross and an altar, and sometimes people laughed. She said, I have a dream and we're going to add on to the church, and sometimes people laughed. And I used to tell Ruby, that's not going to come true. My gosh, you got to be more realistic. And I wish she were here today to see a gymnasium, to see an outdoor worship area where people's ashes are buried and we have the names of pricks of people who have gone before. I wish you were here tonight to see the church full and sing all the Christmas carols. But somehow, some way, because she had a dream and because she had a vision, we're able to be here today. And it's because of people like Ruby that I'm still not afraid to dream. Not afraid to have wishes that seem kind of crazy. Because it's okay if our dreams don't come true. But it's not okay if we stop dreaming. Because dreaming gives us power and vision and energy and courage. The dream continues in the prophet Isaiah, where the prophet says this: "How wonderful it is to see a messenger coming across the mountains, bringing good news and the news of peace, who announces victory to Zion. Break into shouts of joy, O Jerusalem. The Lord will rescue his city and comfort his people. The Lord will use his holy power and save his people. And all the world one day will see it all come true." Our next song is number 282. We'll sing verses 1, 2, and 4 of 282. 1, 2, and 4. Song of old, from angels landing near thee, to touch their hearts of gold. He sung you reveals the wealth of the world is solemn, still they say, to hear the angels sing. I guess the real miracle of Christmas is somehow that God's presence comes alive in the flesh and blood of people like us that try to follow him. You just never know when you're going to be an inspiration and that somehow, someday, you're going to embody God's love to somebody else. And so we can never sell ourselves short when it comes to being kind and gracious and good unto somebody. And my guess is each one of you has people in your life that embody that goodness and that grace. Because the ultimate test of being a person of faith is really believing that God comes alive in people like you and people like me. And when we choose to be kind, when we choose to be gentle and forgiving, when we choose to give unto somebody else, that even though we're imperfect, and even though we have a lot of shortcomings, the Word becomes flesh in you, in me, and the world around us. And that's our calling, is to take the best of the human spirit and tuck it inside the very fiber and guts of who you are and let it come alive in the way you treat other people. That's what religion is all about. In the Gospel of John, it says this: "Before the world was created, the Word already existed. And he was with God and was the same as God. And from the very beginning, the Word was with God. And through him, God made all things. Now God sent a messenger, his name was John, who came to tell people about the light, that all should hear the message and believe. He himself was not the light, but he came to tell about the light. And this was the light that comes into the world and shines on all people. The Word was in the world, and though God made the world through him, the world somehow did not recognize him. And his own people didn't even receive him. However, some did receive him and believe in him. And so the Word became flesh, full of grace and full of truth, and lived among us. And we saw his glory, the glory which he received as the Father's only Son." Our next song is number 271. The last couple of Sundays, I've talked about a newfound stranger in my life, and his name is Don. I like the first name. And I've gone to visit him a couple of times in room 322. And I mentioned that one of our members had asked me to visit him about a month ago. And I said, sure, I'll go right away. And then I didn't go. And I felt kind of guilty because I saw a note on my desk that I would go. And so finally I went to visit him. I called him on the phone. And he's paralyzed in bed in room 322. And he said, oh, are you Pastor Don? You're the one that's supposed to visit me a month ago, right? And I mentioned that, I don't know about Catholic guilt, but Lutheran guilt got all over me at that time. And I went to visit him, and he told me what a sinner he was. He told me about the bumps and bruises in his life. He told me about some of the twists and turns. And somehow, some way, he was trying to find favor with God, but it wasn't working. And I don't know about you, but I get along with sinners a lot better than with righteous people, because I'm one of them. And we talked about what it means to somehow find favor with God, which is what the passage is about, the next one. And I realized that it's impossible to try to find favor with God. All we can do is try to be ourselves. and open ourselves up to God's grace. Because all of us fall short. All of us have had twists and turns in our life that we may not be very proud of. All of us have probably tried to find favor with God by doing certain things. But the most important thing we can do to so-called find favor with God is to somehow find favor with ourselves and our own humanity and our own spirit and our own successes and our own failures. Because that's what life is all about. I've been thinking about Don a lot because he's insanely human and he's real and he's not fake and he's touched me. And somehow in his journey, the Word has become flesh and dwells among us. And so in the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, God sent an angel, Gabriel, to a town in Galilee named Nazareth and had a message for a girl promised in marriage to a man named Joseph. The girl's name was Mary, and the angel came to her and said, "Peace be with you, the Lord is with you and has greatly blessed you." Mary was deeply troubled by the angel's message, and she wondered what the words meant, and the angel said to her, "Don't be afraid, Mary, because God has been gracious to you. You will become pregnant, give birth to a son, and you will name him Jesus, and he will be great, and he'll be called the Son of Man on the Most High, and God's going to make him a king, as his ancestor David was. And he will be the king of the descendants of Jacob, and his kingdom will never end." And Mary said, "I'm a virgin. How can this be?" And the angel answered, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you. God's power will rest upon you. And for this reason, the Holy Child will be called the Son of God." Our next song is number 296. I must admit that I get a little bit sentimental this time of the year, and I sometimes bore you with it. That's the price you pay for having me around, I guess, you know. But I remember that lady I talked about at the beginning of the service who I said, "Please give me a chance." Little did I know that that lady who would give me a chance, that I would do her funeral 30 years later, that I would baptize her grandchildren, that I would marry her grandchildren, that I would even baptize her great-grandchildren. And tonight, for whatever it is, one of her grandkids will sing "Oh Holy Night" like she has done for like the last 30 years. But that's what life is like about the journey. It's somehow learning how to say goodbye to those people you love, and at the same time learning how to say hello and be grateful for the gift of new life. And then all the things that happen to us in between. Because my guess is, for those of you who have been around for a while, that Christmas never stays the same. Over the years it changes. But some things do stay the same, at least for a while. And one of those things is taking the offering while Eileen sings "Oh Holy Night." And that's good. We'll continue with the offering.
Long may the world in sin and error
so the theological question after a song like that is, do you clap or not clap? So it's kind of like stunned silence, and that was beautiful. Thank you very much. The first journey on that first Christmas was the journey of the shepherds to the manger, and they followed that star. So what kind of stars do you follow in your life? What kind of journeys do you take that you'll never forget, that maybe remind you of that journey? I remember, I had to be about 25 years ago. We had a young man in our church named Adam, and my guess is that 2/3 of you don't know who he is, except I talk about him a lot. And Adam had muscular dystrophy and couldn't walk, couldn't really do much except think and laugh and talk to you about life. And we went to a Bulls game one night, a youth group, and if you're in a wheelchair, you can sit on the floor in the first row. And so we said, Adam, you get to sit in the first row. And he said, well, I don't want to sit there. I said, where are you going to sit? Because we're in the third balcony. He said, I want to sit with you. And I said, well, how are you going to get there? And he said, you're going to carry me. And so we carried him. And he was not a small boy. And it was a group effort. And it's kind of like we looked up there and saw the star and wasn't sure if we'd get there or not. We never forgot that journey. And the kids that were with me at that time are now in their 40s. And we still talk about following that star, taking Adam up to the third level. And see, he taught us something. Because one of the greatest gifts that Adam gave to us was that he was willing to surrender. He was willing to allow us to do it for him. He was willing to kind of let go and step back and allow us to carry him when he couldn't carry himself. I want to do that. I want to learn better how to step back and allow others into my life. And quit trying to pretend that I can do all by myself. That was Adam's greatest strength, was knowing that he was weak. And somehow in his weakness, he was one of the strongest kids I ever met. And when he died at the age of 16, his spirit continues to live on. I think about him every day because he had the courage and the grace to step back and allow us to follow that star. That story is in the Gospel of Matthew. And there were some shepherds. There were shepherds in the field watching over their flock by night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were terribly afraid. And the angel said, don't be afraid, I bring good news for you. On this very day in David's town, a Savior has been born. He is called Christ the Lord. And this is what will prove it to you. You will find a baby wrapped in swaddling clothes lying in a manger. And suddenly a great army of heavenly angels appeared, and they sang, glory to God in the highest heaven, and peace on earth to those with whom he is pleased. When the angels went away, back into heaven, the shepherds said one to another, let us go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, that the Lord has told unto us. And so they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and saw the baby lying in a manger. And when the shepherds saw what had been told to them, they were amazed. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds had seen. Mary remembered all these things and pondered them in her heart. And the shepherds went back to their field, singing praises to God for all they had heard and all they had seen, just as the angel had told them. Our next song is the First Noel, number 300. We'll sing verses 1, 2, and 3 of hymn number 300. about Christmas is thinking about those of you who come back. Those of you who come back to the place where maybe you were baptized or confirmed, or maybe you were married or found a word of hope. And I keep thinking of those of you that come back and are never too proud or never too busy to share your gifts with us, you know. Every Thursday night, Zach comes back and plays the guitar for our worship service. Every Christmas, Carrie and her family and her little orchestra back there, they come back and sing Jesu Bambino, another one of Mimi's grandkids who I talked about and gave me a chance. And then there are those of you who can't come back, but somehow you do come back spiritually. And I think of my young buddy Adam, and I think of my young buddy Jack Mitchell, December. We share the same birthday. I think of the people in our lives that have gone before, our spouses and our friends and our kids and our brothers and sisters who may not be here physically, but they're very much with us spiritually. And this is a time of coming back. And when the wise men went to the manger, they had these gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and then they knelt at the manger and they realized that this is not about giving Jesus gifts, it's about accepting the gifts that they've been given. The gifts that you have that you continue to share back with us. And so this is a very humbling time of the year. But it's also one of the best because we see when people give back, when people come back, they nourish us and make us better for what you have been. One of the greatest gifts of the Christmas season. And so our story ends with the journey of the wise men. Jesus was born in the town of Bethlehem. And soon afterwards, some magi who studied the stars came from the east to Jerusalem, and they asked, "Where is this baby to be born, the King of the Jews? We saw his star, and we have come to worship him." And when King Herod heard about this, he was very upset, and so was everyone else in Jerusalem. And he called together all the chief priests and the teachers of the law, and he asked them, "Where will the Messiah be born?" And they answered, "In the little town of Bethlehem. For the prophet wrote, 'Bethlehem in the land of Judah, you are by no means the least of the leading cities.'" And so Herod called the visitors from the east to a secret meeting and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. And then he sent them to Bethlehem with these instructions: "Go, make a careful search for the child, and when you find him, let me know, so I too may go and worship him." And so they left, and on their way they saw the same star they had seen in the east. When they saw it and how happy they were, the joy was theirs. The star went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. They went into the house, and when they saw the child with his mother Mary, they knelt down and worshipped him. And they brought out their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Then they returned to their country by another road, since God had warned them in a dream not to go back to Herod. We'll continue with Jesu Bambino. Carrie and her niece Emily and her son Grayson and her brother Jim. That was beautiful. Thank you very much. And so to you and to Mike and to Eileen and now the choir, we thank you so much for the gift of music this evening. You know, tonight as we leave this place, we're going to think of lots of angels. Because an angel is anybody who somehow touches you and makes you a better person. And let us remember that angels are born out of the dust like we are. And so often, without even trying, we can be angels unto somebody else. And that's the miracle and the joy of Christmas. We are blessed to have a great choir, and they're now going to sing the song, Still, Still, Still. Yes. I don't see your name on here, Debbie. Okay.
I'm sure people are tired of listening to me, but
No way.
you're blessed. You're blessed with an incredible family, an incredible congregation,
What?
amazing staff. I love each and every one of these people that I work with. But this is just off the top of my head because I wasn't planning on doing this, so bear with me. Each and every day, as I've said before, Don has to work with obviously many personalities from all over, including me, which is not easy. I am not an easy person to work with. Ask Alan. I'm not an easy person to live with either. But at 69 years old, what you do every single day is amazing. I've said it so many times, but I have worked here for 13 years, and each day, it's just unbelievable what he does. It's incredible. And these are words you're never going to hear during the week, but you inspire me and people that when we send out a letter, they are always incredibly generous. And the notes I get thanking us for doing this because of who you are and what you do for this congregation. It is truly amazing. So,
I am one blessed person, and you folks are more than parishioners, you're friends. And each one of you has made a difference in my life. And to my family, to all of you, I just can't thank you enough for accepting me, inspiring me, giving me a chance, accepting my failures and my shortcomings, and just giving me a chance to be your pastor and your friend. You mean the world to me. And I hope that our paths, our journey continues for a long, long, long time. And I hope I continue to be worthy of your love and your support, because it does mean the world to me. So I hope all of you have a blessed Christmas, and I look forward to our continued journey. And one of my favorite times of the year is when we kind of darken the lights and sing Silent Night and light the candles. And then God bless you, and Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. all of you a very blessed Christmas. Merry Christmas. And now may the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let me gently blow your candles out. We'll turn the lights back on.